we give you the option.
Have you guys ever been in a draft and you're in the late rounds, like 10 plus,
Nope.
and it's your turn to pick. You're looking at your phone or your screen and you're seeing all these names and you're like, man, who do I pick? I'm so late. This guy, I mean, none of these names are like super good that you're like, yeah, I got to take this guy, but they're also not like terrible names that you're just, picking out of a hat. So, we're talking about those late round steals that could help your team actually win in fantasy and could actually give you the upper hand on other teams. So we're going to give you some player names that we think this year could be those must-haves during late rounds. Chris, why don't you give us our first name for this?
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that I am trying to acquire on a lot of my teams. We've all seen the videos of Darnell Mooney, wide receiver from the Chicago Bears, just running to get open constantly over the past 2 seasons. And we've seen the disgusting quarterback play of Mitchell Trubisky, just miss him on every opportunity. I mean, this guy could be drafted higher where he is now, which is his ADP is 1302, his wide receiver 55. So I'm hoping Justin Fields is the starter, but you guys have seen what Andy Dalton can do. He can get the ball to his wide receivers, albeit he's not the flashiest quarterback. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's a decent game managing quarterback, but he's more accurate than Mitchell Trubisky. Over the last 3 games of the season, Mooney showed out and proved what he was capable of, averaging 8.3 targets and 15 fantasy points per game. There are rumors out there that Anthony Miller, the slot wide receiver right now for the Chicago Bears, might not even make the final roster. And considering that they didn't really address the position in the draft. They drafted Daz Newsome in I believe it was the 6th round, so they waited that long to draft a wide receiver. Therefore, they believe in Darnell Mooney. I believe in Darnell Mooney, and you should believe in Darnell Mooney as well. He should have no trouble averaging about 6.5 targets per game to reach 110 this season, which is great if you look at what Justin Jefferson had target-wise last year. It was only $125. So if Darnell Mooney can get to that 110 spot for targets this season, he will easily finish in a wide receiver 3 range, which at the 1302 spot, wide receiver 55, to me is going to be great value for you. And he is a late round must-have for me, and he should be for you.
He's been on my list for a long time. Honestly, I really like him. Actually, the other day I saw Coach Nagy say this about him. He's a threat in the offense, and what he's doing out here in OTAs, he's gotten even better. He has that inner drive. It's that DNA thing that not everybody has, but he has it, and we're lucky. So some big words from Matt Nagy, and when a coach likes a guy, you got to be excited to have him on your team. So,
yep. And if Fields starts, he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the class coming out of this class. 100%. So, I mean, Mooney even said, he's like, when he saw that first pass from Justin Fields, it's like the football had a halo and wings over it. He was just so happy.
So, man.
He was just happy somebody could pass the ball. It didn't matter who it was.
Exactly. But, so. Pick up Mooney.
All right, James.
Actually, to build on that there, Chris, I think they tried to trade the wide receiver you're talking about there.
Miller,
and they couldn't find a trade partner. Yeah. So, be interesting. I like Mooney. I like him a lot.
All right, James. Why don't you hit us with our second player that people should have?
Sounds good. I'm going to hit you guys with a player that you're going to say his name. You're probably going to think, oh, why is he saying him? Henry Ruggs of the Las Vegas Raiders. I think the fact that Nelson Aguilar is gone now, they don't have a legitimate number 1. I'm hoping that Ruggs will be the guy to be the number 1, which they're saying he will be. And we all know last season wasn't good for him. We understand that. They misused him. There were some injuries that didn't help him. They had to put him from the slot that he was supposed to be in, where they thought they were just going to dump him the ball. He was going to run for a bunch of yards. And then all of a sudden they had to move him to the outside, and then he was running, and they were trying to throw deep balls, and it just wasn't working.
They found out it wasn't college anymore.
Yeah, so there was a lot of issues there between them. But I mean, I think this year he's going to step in as the number one. He's going to have every opportunity to be that. And you know me, I like my draft stock. He was the number one wide receiver taken in the entire draft last year. Of all the wide receivers, and I believe that they're not gonna just give up on that and say, okay, no, they're gonna figure out a way to involve him and get him the ball a lot more than they did last year. Now, Nick, what did Aguilar do last year with that number one spot that he was in?
Yeah, Aguilar actually put up pretty decent numbers with that number one spot, especially with the the Raiders needing a guy to step up at the wide receiver position with Ruggs and Bryan Edwards not producing. During the year, he actually had 48 receptions, 896 yards, and 8 touchdowns.
Yeah. So now take that Ruggs, put him as the number one spot guy. What do you think? Do you think he can put up numbers like that, or maybe a little bit more?
You know what? I like Ruggs. I mean, he has the potential and the skill set to definitely do it. I mean, him and Aguilar, I'm not going to say Aguilar is such a better wide receiver than him. The only thing I'm weary about is, like we said, I mean, last year he had that chance to be that number one, and he just couldn't do it. Defenses stopped him. The long ball wasn't working. And I mean, I don't really see anything crazy that's made me think that that's going to change this year. So,
but see, wide receivers don't always come out being the best in their first year. It takes them a little bit of time to gel, especially with new quarterback, new system, and then especially with the fact that your coaching staff ruined the whole thing to begin with.
That's fair. But again, I mean, I hope he does. I mean, I like Ruggs. You're right. He's that number one pick, and he has that skill to be special in the NFL. I'm just weary on the fact that he had his chance last year, and I hope he can do it, but I'm not sure.
I think he can. I think he will, and I think he'll help you, especially getting him late. And he'll slot in as a nice wide receiver that you got a lot later, thinking he'd be on your bench.
Okay, yeah. Chris, why don't you hit us with another candidate that is a must-have for people's teams this year in fantasy?
I'm going to go running back this time, Nick. A guy, he's coming in as RB44, which is, to me, is going to be great value. His ADP is 905. It's Baltimore Raven running back Gus Edwards. The Ravens put a second-round tender on him this past year and then signed him to a 2-year, $10 million extension. It's obvious that they think highly of Gus the Bus. Ranking second amongst active RBs with at least 400 carries, Gus Edwards holds a yard per carry average of 5.2. He's efficient when called upon. He takes advantage of his opportunities, but unfortunately, and this is the unfortunate part, he's the third wheel in the Ravens running attack. Nick, do you have the 2020 breakdown for Gus Edwards?
I do, yeah. So from week 6 onwards, Edwards averaged 9.83 fantasy points per game on 11 opportunities. Now, keep in mind that these numbers are a little skewed because there was 1 week where he was injured and he was only limited to 3 carries for 6 yards that game. But taking that game out, Edwards proved to be a decent emergency flex play, even though he was second fiddle to running back J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, so given the fact that Ingram's gone, Baltimore Ravens might put more of a passing workload on Lamar just to keep his career extended. I'm looking for Gus Edwards in a full season in that offense to get back to that 9-10 fantasy points per game average, and getting him at RB44. It's gonna be good for you, right? In these late rounds. If you're looking for a running back, if you're one of the guys that went zero running back in and are looking for someone that could produce for you with a steady volume, I mean, 11 to 15 touches a game, I could definitely see that happening with Edwards, then he's a guy that you should be targeting later in your draft.
Okay, very interesting. I do like Edwards. I mean, he's going to be involved for sure. But like you said, he is that kind of third guy on that team with Lamar and J.K. Dobbins running so much. But hey, he is a solid flex player, and he proved that last year. All right, so I thought of something different. I thought I'm gonna actually nominate a player here. My must-have of this year is actually wide receiver Russell Gage from Atlanta.
Oh,
I know he's going late in drafts. I mean, we've talked about this before with Julio. With Julio leaving, Atlanta has opened up 150 plus targets that are now vacated. And honestly, Russell Gage has been said to be that next fill up to being beside Calvin Ridley on that offense. So with Russell Gage taking that wide receiver 2 position, he is definitely going to be more counted on and given more chances to have a better production. If we look at the 7 games when Russell Gage played when Julio Jones didn't play last season, Russell Gage he was targeted 45 times. He had 350 yards and he had 2 touchdowns in those 7 games. Now, honestly, he has proven to be better in each year that he's played, and I think having these extra targets, he has the chance to be a pretty good steal late for you that could help you win down the stretch.
Interesting. How many of those 150 targets do you think he sees?
Well, obviously, I mean, Kyle Pitts coming in, he's going to take probably a bigger share, but honestly, I think Calvin Ridley may take some, Kyle Pitts will take some, but I see him taking probably, I'd say a minimum 60. Probably. So, anyways, that is our show for the day, everybody. Those are just some candidates that we think may be some huge must-haves for your team late in drafts that can help you win your fantasy seasons. Make sure to check out our other videos on YouTube as well as our episodes wherever you stream your podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on social media for even more content to help you win your fantasy football seasons. You can find us on Instagram at The Option Podcast, on Twitter at The Option Pod, and on TikTok at The Option Fantasy Football. Have a good one, everybody. We will see you next time. Ciao. Do you agree with us? Disagree with us? Let us know with a comment below or even reach out to us and DM us.